for our city, the Toronto Maple Leafs have won, I think it's 1967. But our football team did win the Canadian National Championship. And so we were going to have a large parade that day. A couple 100,000 people were expected to attend. And so we stand up our major into the command center. We have people out working in that crowd and working within our command center, monitoring social media. We had been aware that there would also be taking place at that same moment in time a Palestinian demonstration in the city. We anticipated from our traditional intelligence sources that about 40 or 50 people would attend a small demonstration. It would not amount to much. And so we were paying a little bit of attention to it, but frankly, we assigned resources. We were busy with this large sporting celebration. Social media was being monitored within the command center by some of our young people. And they came to us and said, there's something going on here. And they were using a thing called geofencing to determine the location of where these discussions were taking place and who was involved in the discussion. And they determined that hundreds of people were now converging on a particular area for a demonstration, which was then morphing into what was going to become a protest and a march that would have interfered with the sports celebration that was taking place. And we had very limited resources to apply to this particular demonstration, but we were alerted timely and actually in real time of what was going on in this planned demonstration. But we were very fortunate because there was also an individual in that demonstration who was the primary organizer. But he was using social media very effectively to organize that demonstration. He was sending out tweets, he was giving his location, and he had not turned off the geofencing capability of his own device, so we were able to monitor his location to confirm his truthfulness. But he was also uploading in real time videos of the crowds that gathered and messaging that he was sharing with his other organizers for this event. He, in fact, became our very best intelligence officer on the scene. He was organizing the event, but he was the best informed of what was going on, and he shared his planning with those who he was trying to attract to his demonstration, but he was also sharing it with us. And the information that he provided to us was the best intelligence that we were receiving about that demonstration on that day. And it enabled us to determine the number of people we would send to that, the response that we would be able to provide, and it also created a forum for us to communicate with him and his followers about our expectations about their behavior in that demonstration. And it changed the whole nature of it, quite frankly. It made it a manageable event. What we have also seen in other large demonstrations is that type of analysis can be tremendously important. And this is another area I wanted to discuss with you. About a year ago, some of my party people came into the room. We have a very extensive social media program that began really looking at how we can use social media to communicate with our population, to get our message out. And I think that's how most of us begin. But we began to realize that there were other opportunities, covert opportunities, intelligence gathering opportunities, analytical opportunities that would inform our responses to many different types of events, to crime, to mass demonstrations, to a number of things that would directly affect our relationship with the public and the ability that we have to serve the people of our city. So I had some people come in to see me, and they brought in this great young guy. I have to tell you, he's a 23-year-old. He's not an MIT grad. He was a parking enforcement officer. His name is Ritesh Kotesh. And we had just hired this guy. I known him since he was an early teen. He'd actually been on my youth advisory background. He was a bright young kid, not particularly well educated. And as I say, we hired him as a parking enforcement officer. But in his spare time, he was a hacker. And so they brought him in and they said, boss, we want to show you what Ritesh can do. Ritesh got his little laptop up and he opened it up. And within a few minutes, he took over every phone in the room. When I say he took over every phone in the room, if you have enabled Bluetooth and not changed your password on your phone, Ritesh can take your phone in a few minutes. He can send spoof messages from your phone that will appear to come from you, but he can send messages that appear to come from you from anywhere. He can send messages to you that can appear to come from me that won't necessarily come from me. He can turn on your camera, he can analyze all and look at all of your communications, all of your associates and friends. And if you are also on Facebook, for example, within moments, he can give us probably one of the most up-to-date and reliable intelligence profiles of each and every one. If you've left certain security things enabled on your phone, he'll also take over your home computer within a few minutes and get all your banking information. When they brought Ritesh in to show me this, quite frankly, I don't know what it started by, and I'm immediately taken by all the vulnerabilities that exist in my organization. That's what chiefs do. We rally the wagons, sort of circle the wagons. We have to protect our assets, protect our information. But then they said, but boss, we can do this in 5 years. And of course, that's a very tempting opportunity. But I will also share with you, back in the early 80s, I was working organized crime. And I remember when video cameras first became readily available and affordable to the police. I put cameras up everywhere. I had cameras in lawyers' offices. I had them in interview rooms at the jail. Because there was no law that said you couldn't. We made that law because we were reckless, because we were so pleased to be able to exploit this new technological opportunity that we went and did some things that we should not have done. And now fast forward 30 years later, and I have another young man coming into my office with a new technological opportunity. And so what we did in our organization, and I would encourage others in the law enforcement community to consider this, we set up a thing called Operation Regal. It's about 8 people, bright people in the organization, people with 3 years service and people with 25 years service in the organization, people who understand the opportunity and the risks associated to utilizing social media and the new technologies that are available to us, open source applications that can be downloaded by a 12-year-old off the internet, that can be used to interfere with our systems. We've talked about anonymous and the ability that they can for denial of service, but quite frankly, denial of service is the least of our concerns when it comes to some, in fact, somebody thinks that our website isn't going to take us out of business, but there are other things that we've certainly put at risk as a result of the application of these freely available, readily available tools that a 12-year-old can use very effectively against us. We are examining within our organization all of those open source applications. We put a team of people together that work on this full out, and they're gathering information and looking at where our vulnerabilities are, looking where the opportunities are, and then working with our prosecuting attorneys to make sure that we manage the risks of utilizing those opportunities in law enforcement. And I would like to encourage all of you, those of you who have an interest, not just in social media as a communication tool, but on these new technologies and how they're transforming the nature of our business. And it is changing the nature of our business. I also worked in criminal intelligence for many years, and I know what it was like when we put together a criminal intelligence profile of an individual or a group of individuals who may be formed a gang. And I think you've all seen those intelligence charts, where we'll have an individual out there and all of its associates and vehicles associated to them and places associated to them. And it's often as a result of several years of intelligence gathering, information of limited utility and certainly not terribly current, but information that we put together to get a bit of a profile of the individuals we're dealing with. Today, using social media tools, those same charts can be put together in a matter of minutes. They can be put together with a very limited use of our own resources, because they put that information on them. They'll tell us who their friends are. They'll tell us who they associate with. They tell us the places they associate to, what their favorite activities are. They share much of their communication with us. And although I think there is significant responsibility on us to be responsible with how we utilize that information, it's important to know that it's out there and it's available to you. As policing costs have soared, and as our ability to gather intelligence and to share intelligence has become considerably constrained by the lack of resources, there is a new opportunity within social media to gather and use that for intelligence gathering and for intelligence dissemination to transform the way we do business. And I can tell you today that in every major criminal investigation, in every complex criminal investigation dealing with organized crime, for every mass demonstration, a very significant portion of our police response is the social media response, where we have a team of people who go in and look and see what information is readily available to us in social media and how we can utilize that to enhance our investigations. And it is changing the results. We see gangs, for example, who share their disputes quite readily, who talk openly about criminal activity they're involved in, murders that have just taken place. And so in my organization, when those murders take place, or when we are concerned about a rivalry existing between two gangs, we go to their social media activity. We monitor that, and it's become a very significant portion of our intelligence response to changing the way in which we do business. I think we have a responsibility to each other to explore these opportunities, to measure these risks, and to share what we learn.